Aloha, everybody. This is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks, episode 111 on YouTube. Um, can't believe you guys actually made it to episode 111. Neither can I. Um, thank you guys for joining me on this journey. Listen to all these episodes about sports, comedy, and food. Um, and if you haven't already, follow, subscribe, like these episodes on YouTube and Spotify under the name Tiggy Maximus Talks. And if you happen to be on my Spotify episodes, there is a link um, that you can click on, and it will allow you to make a small donation towards the podcast. Again, listening to any of these episodes or making a small donation towards the podcast, anything is fully appreciated. Thank you guys. I just want to get on here pretty quickly. Been to a couple of comedy shows since the last time I saw you guys. I did go to this amazing comedy show on Saturday night out in Escondido at the Good Omen Mead. And this is part of the Escondido Underground comedy show, and it was hosted by Bronston Jones. I actually like the area. It has a bit of you'd say like an old town feel to it. You can hear some like folk music in the background, and it's just kind of like a really chill place to kind of walk around there. And I'm glad I got to check out this Good Omen Mead, and it had a very spacious floor plan, so you don't feel like you're too crowded up with your other fellow audience members for a comedy show or whatever it's there for. And honestly, a great staff. Two female bartenders. One of them is her name is Evelyn, and you have the bar owner is the name of Brian. So great staff. Um, they don't have like a real like food menu. They might have like maybe a sandwich, but it's a sandwich in a box. So I didn't really order that. I did have a couple of drinks. I had a Lucky Luck, which technically I had ordered a liquid death water, but Lucky Luck, I guess I was gonna have to try it. And then they have this peanut butter stout, non-alcoholic. Had that too. Pretty tasty actually. And I think I had yeah, yeah, the Lucky Luck and the peanut butter stout. And thanks to Phil Alvarez, I did get my liquid death water. Um, but other than that, um, so one of the bartenders, Evelyn, it's a short one, super nice, and the other girl, I think she was the one who kind of checked off my name, and she also gave me one of those we call it the wristbands for being over 21. So she seems really cool, and I like how she was a little bit cautious on putting on the wristband. I mean, technically, I could try to do it myself, but then I need like extra coordination to kind of put it on um, around my own wrist. But it's kind of cool having someone else do it for me without taking my skin or hair, because I have a lot of arm hair, as you can tell. Anywho, great staff, super nice, and the show itself, it was a great show. Great lineup. Bronston Jones, that's the host. He went up first. Um, he has some fun stuff to talk about his Prius, how it's stuck in up in Corona, California. Said that his brakes technically didn't work, but then they kicked back up again, and that kind of Yeah, it's kind of a scary experience when your car does that, especially for a Prius, and it then works at the very last second, which is kind of scary. Uh, so he says that his Prius is somewhere stuck in Corona, so he has a loaner car. The loaner car actually looks pretty good, actually, but I guess he's gonna have to figure out his whole situation with the Prius. On a side note, I actually have a broken windshield. I have a big crack on my windshield, and I have to figure out how to get it fixed. It looks like I'm gonna have to replace it anyway, and pay a nice pretty penny for it. So that's in the works right now. Um, that's what happens when you kind of drive behind a dump truck and they fling a piece of rock at your windshield at 60, 70 miles per hour. So at least that was probably like, you know, the least of my worries. But the crack has been growing for a few days, but I think it's stopped growing. So cross my fingers, nothing happens to me on the freeway. Um, you could think of it as one of those final destination scenarios where one little crack becomes a big thing, and then one little thing leads to a bigger thing, and then it leads to a catastrophe somewhere. Anywho, um, but yeah, first time hearing Brunston Jones do his comedy act, and honestly, I liked his set. Let's just say his comedy was an 8.3 out of 10. Got the crowd going. Um, I do want to mention that if you do watch a comedy show at the Good Omen Mead, there is a tall beam in the middle of the room, and it does kind of, you know, splits your view of the stage. So, um, if you happen to sit down, you got to be on one side or the other side. You shouldn't be sitting right directly behind the beam. Technically, I was kind of in the middle, and I actually had a good seat from where I was, and I can see all the comics. I didn't really get blocked too much about the beam, but um, that beam is kind of hard to ignore, actually. So, other than that, when you watch comedy, you kind of want to have some kind of visual, but more importantly, you can actually hear the person talk. So, wasn't really bothered by it, but it's hard to ignore, honestly. Um, Next up, I believe it was Phil Alvarez. I'm glad I got to see his comedy because I have only seen his open mic. That was at the Rafa Camargo farewell show at the Good Bar in Point Loma. Um, this time it was a full set. Phil Alvarez, he's pretty funny. I would say his comedy was about a 8.4 out of 10. Glad I got to be there and got to see his set. Now I know how funny he is. Next up, we have Ryan Archuleta. I've seen him a few times already. He does have a joke about reverse PTSD and his fear of Vietnamese people. That got some good laughs in the crowd, and now that I get to kind of hear it a few more times and I actually get the joke and stuff, and um, I think I was one of the, you know, ones to laugh a little too early because I kind of knew that this was coming. Um, but honestly, cool guy, cool set. And then about after 10 minutes in, I noticed something about his set. Like he was doing pretty well. Like the crowd was eating up everything he was saying. How he was, he looks like a guy who's on steroids because I guess he is on steroids. That got a good laugh. But there was a stoppage somewhere around the 10-minute mark of his set where it somehow killed the flow of his comedy set, and it didn't get as much laughs as he did the first 10 minutes. So I can't remember what it was, unless it was something about politics or um, something about females or maybe gays, maybe. So, um, or something about the dating apps. So I guess around that point is because he actually did sort of a crowd work thing, but I think he heard an answer from the crowd, and I guess he wanted to stop doing jokes and then hear what the clarification was about what the person said in the crowd, and then kind of incorporate it into a set, but then it kind of stopped the flow. And I guess he didn't technically get any more like big laughs after that point, and so the way he ended his set, I think it kind of killed the vibe of the momentum of his comedy. But overall, it's really good. Most of it's pretty new, and there's some mixing some old ones I can remember. So overall, I would say Ryan Archuleta's comedy that was 8.45. Um, Next up, we have, um, I believe it was, I think it was Jay Washington. Um, First time seeing the guy, and after this first time, he is super hilarious. Um, I liked how he talked about, stuff about being black and racism, and then he talked about maybe the Santee stuff and the some mention of the Ku Klux Klan. um, so, and I can just imagine like just listening to his set, like the crowd really pretty much ate up most of his set, and he did pretty well. And I'm glad I got to see his set, and the guy is super hilarious. And who knows, I'll get to see him down the road. And I got to talk to him after the show. He's really cool. Um, if anything, I think his set was an 8.8 out of 10. And then we have your headliner, Erica Rose. I actually got to run into her at the beginning, right outside the Good Omen Mead. She was hanging out with Ryan Archuleta and Phil Alvarez. Introduced myself, and she's super nice. Uh, at first, when she started her set, it seemed a little bit odd because I think it had to deal with the microphone, and you couldn't really hear her for the first minute. But then I guess the microphone got adjusted in the background, and it sounded much better. And she did pretty well for like, what was it, like 45 minutes or an hour or something. So um, she had a lot of fun stuff to talk about, um, relationships, dying alone if she keeps trying to find an intelligent man to date. Um, I guess picking outfits. Just in general dating. I think she talked about family. Um, so I can tell that the crowd really loved her, and I liked her stuff too. So I would say Erica Rose was a 9 out of 10. Great job, Erica. Um, and I got to talk to everybody, got some pictures with everybody. So it was a good night on a Saturday. And I just so happened to go to TJ Tacos right after because it's literally like down the street. And I got myself a half and half burrito. Um, I think it's called a uh, Campechano burrito or something, but I just call it half and half. Half adobada, half carne asada burrito. Really good. Has some guacamole in it and some pico de gallo, I think. And the adobada is a little bit spicy. And the salsa, you get two choices, the green and the red. I had a little bit of both. But I gotta tell you, the red is a little spicy too. That burrito, I would say, was about an 8.8 out of 10. Um, so overall, I actually don't mind going back up to Escondido for that show again. I am trying to figure out how to go to the Grand in Escondido because I heard that one's a great place to be for comedy. Got to figure out who to see up there, so that's in the works. Uh, so the next day, I did go to the Madhouse Comedy Club. It was kind of a last minute thing. I actually got to see the headliner Rahman, Kazeem Rahman, and man, that guy was super funny. The host was Kyle Drake. I've seen him a few times now. Pretty cool guy. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't feel he get a lot of laughs during his hosting, so I guess I can only just give him a score of a 7 out of 10. Um, and then he brought up Chris Espinosa. He started off pretty well because he told everyone that he was on Criminal Minds, and he asked the crowd, "What role do you think he had in that TV show?" And it got super hilarious with the wide range um, of answers as to what he would have been, except the fact that no one said doctor or lawyer, and that got a lot of laughs because I thought that was kind of messed up. But honestly, that got me chuckling a lot. Um, I think starting pretty hot. It probably would have been, if we kept that going, it probably would have been at least an 8.5 out of 10. But it kind of started to die down, and he kind of talked about, um, let's see, I guess I don't know if he's talking about gang members, and he did the voices, and he showed what would happen if he was in a gang, and I guess he did kind of a voice that showed that he was intimidated by a gang member or something. But he did talk about women and dating and stuff, and that was pretty cool. And it kind of settled down in my mind to an 8 out of 10 for his comedy set. So cool guy, funny guy. Um, and then I guess next they brought up, mm, I think they brought up, I guess it was Jim Pine. Um, that one, he'd like to talk about the military and transgenders. He kind of threw in one new joke about it, but I think he still talked about transgenders, and then the poster they put up for the military, "Don't ask, but I can't tell." I mean, that was pretty funny, but outside of that, it didn't get too much of a big laugh. So I kind of have to say that he kind of was about a 7 out of 10. Um, Nothing too much out of the ordinary, really. Not that I can remember his set. Um, but then we got to, uh, I think it was, um, what was his name? I guess his name is um, the Goo, Danny Ragu. Um, Guy's pretty intense, uh, but um, he has some funny jokes. Um, he does have that New York accent, and he was wearing his New York Yankees cap. Um, but I think the crowd was trying to get used to what his jokes were, and because he came off pretty intense, and he just get some laughs and stuff. But um, I would say he was about a 7 out of 10 as well. Um, and then we have Tim Hill. Oh man, Tim Hill was pretty funny. Um, I think he talked about his job, and people were laughing at that. And then um, I think he like brought up a historical fact or a fact nowadays. I think he talked about sharks. About 4 sharks kill people per year. but thousands of people end up killing, um, like a bunch of sharks in some way, shape, or form. But the rest is that you got the people thinking, and you got a lot of laughs throughout his set. So Tim Hill got an 8.5 out of 10. Um, let's see. Then I believe we have Laura Arkova. First time seeing her like do a full set. She was kind of holding the mic stand while she was talking. She already separated the microphone from the mic stand, but she just kind of stood in the middle of the stage. She did a little bit of crowd work. She talked about moving to America like 7 years ago, learned the lingo of raw dogging and mad dogging. Um, she got some good laughs. I would say she was about a 7.8 out of 10 for her comedy. She was really cool to talk to after the show, actually. So, got a picture. Um, I introduced myself, and I just had a little talk. Uh, and then we have Michelle Mistrada. She did her persona of Barbara. Um, I gotta say, she did not get a lot of laughs, and I may have been one of two people to actually laugh. She did give some life advice, running with scissors if you're suicidal, and always be the bigger person so you can eat more. She talked about a hobby of picking up seashells, and actually acted out picking up the seashells. Um, but yeah, I think I was maybe one or two people to actually laugh. So I think she's still working on the comedy stuff, and she'll get better as time goes on. She's a great person, and I would say her comedy was a 6 out of 10. Um, then we have, I believe, Gabe Ramirez. I think it was my second time seeing him actually, and guy was super funny throughout most of his set, and people really got into it. I would say he was an 8.6 out of 10. Him and Tim were pretty hilarious though. And then we got our headliner Kazeem Rahman. Oh man, super funny guy. He even talked about if you're gonna fire him the same day. Don't give him 2 weeks, because if you give him 2 weeks, he's gonna plan some strategy to steal the refrigerator and the printers in some subtle way. If you give him 2 weeks, and he actually kind of went back to that reference that later in his set when he talked about how the police needed to come to his house with a warrant, because he told them like, hey, you need a warrant, you can't just search my place without a warrant. And they came back with an iPad with the warrant on it, and then he said, well, wait, why can't you guys print this out? I have all these printers from work. And I like laughed pretty early, because I knew what the joke was when he talked about the printers. um, but yeah, he talked about quite a few stuff, and honestly, I like this set. I can't wait to see this guy again. Um, let's say that he was let's just say 9 out of 10. And I think he brought his wife with him actually. And I got to talk to him after the show, and I got a picture with him. He seemed pretty cool. Um, so we'll see. And then I did get to stay in for a little bit at the open mic. Got to see Taryn Heffley, uh, Kyle Drake, Alan Henderson, Corey Ryan, um, Joe Grillo. So yeah, it's pretty cool seeing all that. And then I did save a comic after the show because this one comic, she was stopped by this one black man on the street, and he wouldn't let her like leave, and I just happened to walk up to the comic and the guy, and I escorted the comic away from the guy. I guess that's my feel good deed moment of the day. Um, I was just saying to the comic that I'm always fight ready. So I guess I was always be ready for whatever comes my way. So if I had to tussle with somebody, just protect somebody, I guess I probably would do it. Um, don't know how the result will turn out, but at least I always go in with um, with intensity, and I have certain skills, certain moves I want to do on people if I ever get into a fight with somebody. Anywho, overall, good night of comedy and a good weekend of comedy actually, and yeah, more shows to come. I'll be going to Cash Habib's 100th show at the Pally-Wine on Wednesday night. I'm probably going to a comedy show Friday night at the Laugh Factory to see Jennifer Sturger during Comic Con. I'll probably be at a show on the 22nd at the Mic Drop to see Chinedu Unaka, Late Late Show, and then um, so yeah, some great shows coming this week. Um, Padres, they led all 4 games over the weekend against the Philadelphia Phillies, guys, but the Padres lost 3 of those 4 games. Tough luck for the Padres. Anywho, um, I will be watching the United States women's soccer team going against the Vietnam um, women's soccer team on Friday night, 6 p.m. That's going to be a historic game, especially for Vietnam. I'll be paying attention. I'll probably find a place downtown to watch it and then go to the comedy show right after. So, fun times ahead. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys later about food, comedy, and sports. Remember to have some good company, good food, watch some good action, and watch some good shows. All right, this is Tiggy Maximus signing off, and booyaka!